Morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. My governor and I continue to work hard to build strong international relationships on behalf of the people of the territory. Today I'm pleased to bring you an update on our latest efforts. Next week, from September 7 to 13, I'll be leading a delegation to engage with business leaders, government officials, financial services practitioners, and clients in Hong Kong and Greater China as part of our ongoing effort to strengthen the territory's economic and financial services relations with the Asia-Pacific region. The visit will coincide with the first anniversary of the opening of BVI House Asia in Hong Kong and the 30th anniversary of the International Business Companies Act, the IBC Act, the innovative piece of legislation which has positioned the Virgin Islands as a leading global financial services jurisdiction. The BVI has been working with Asian businesses and professionals for 30 years and has become the jurisdiction of choice for corporations, for corporates, joint ventures, and all forms of wealth management by Asian clients. Drawing on its unparalleled experience of the Asian market, its extensive business contacts and mature infrastructure, the BVI remains committed to building and deepening relationships with clients, business partners, and vested third parties in Hong Kong, China, and across Asia. The Asia-Pacific region continues to be a fundamental market for the British Virgin Islands. Around half of our financial services business emanates from that region, and given its increasing influential role in the global economy, Asia represents a significant economic opportunity for the BVI both in terms of financial services as well as tourism. A primary focus for the jurisdiction is to continue to be a trusted business partner for Asia stakeholders and to support their ongoing economic success. During my visit, I will address the Hong Kong General Chamber of Commerce, the oldest and largest business organization in Hong Kong, with its members representing a wide spectrum of local, mainland Chinese, and international businesses. I'll speak on the topic, will offshore and mature jurisdictions remain viable in the emerging global landscape? My address will reinforce the critical importance of the BVI and its structures to the Asian economy and examine the resilience of financial centers such as the BVI in light of the changing global landscape. Towards the end of the week, I will also be speaking at the Business BVI Asia Annual Conference, along with Director of BVI House Asia, Ms. Elise Donovan, Managing Director of and Chief Operating Officer of the Financial Services Commission, Dr. Robert McTavish, Mr. Edward Bannister, Judge of the BVI Commercial Court, and guest speakers from BVI firms in Hong Kong and Greater China. The BVI Asia Conference will engage stakeholders and clientele on a range of issues relative to the territory and is themed Pivoting Towards Asia, the Pathway to New Opportunities. The BVI's engagement in Hong Kong and China next week will include a visit to the city of Shenzhen in the province of Guangdong to further develop the relationship formalized on January 10th of this year with two memoranda of understanding signed between the British Virgin Islands and the Quanhai Authority, as well as with the city of Shenzhen. The objective of the latter is to increase friendship and bilateral cultural exchanges, as well as to facilitate greater cooperation, particularly in the areas of tourism, economic growth, culture, and sports. The former relates to the development of cooperation in financial services. As previously stated, the territory is currently observing the 30th anniversary of the IBC Act, as well as the first year anniversary of BVI House Asia. As you are all aware, BVI House Asia was established to better service the Asia-Pacific market in real time and to make sure that business is conducted efficiently and seamlessly. Therefore, in celebration of these two milestones, I'll be hosting a cocktail reception for BVI Financial Services industry partners in the Asia-Pacific region. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, this brings me to the end of today's update and look forward to your questions.
Morning, Premier. Zan Lewis, ZBVI Radio. You made mention that you'll be traveling to Hong Kong on the 7th to the 13th, and you'll be involved in several activities there on the 30th anniversary and so on. Over the last 30 years, you made mention of Hong Kong being a viable economic and tourism jurisdiction for the Virgin Islands. How has it been with the BVI, this relationship over the last 30 years in terms of revenue, what the BVI has been earning in revenue-wise in tourism and financial services from the relationship with the Asian market? Okay,
Mr. Lewis. The concentration has been for quite a few years on financial services. And as I said in the report I just gave, at least more than 50% of our business is with the Asia-Pacific region, which means that the work of the financial services, including all the incorporations that are done here, which keep our people busy, much of that emanates from the Asia-Pacific region. We have had not a great deal in tourism as yet, but the memorandum of understanding that we signed early in the year speaks to that. And that is one of the areas that I'll be discussing further when I get there.
What do you think needs to be done to improve this area more in tourism? How can they assist the BVI to further this tourism relationship? What is needed?
They can assist in many ways. First of all, there's many persons, investors in the Asia-Pacific region who has the capability of making investments in major tourism facilities like resorts and so. And we have had some discussions, but we'll be able to continue those and further other discussions when I meet with the Chamber of Commerce and also when I meet with business leaders and investors in Hong Kong and China when I get there. Of course, as you know, that the Chinese are also great travelers. And I expect that once we continue this relationship, we'll be seeing more and more Chinese visitors as tourists to the BVI.
Good morning. Crystal Kenyon from the BVI Beacon newspaper. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit, as we're looking at the first year of BVI House Asia, what do you think some of the accomplishments have been since it's opened?
The BVI House Asia, once it was opened, the purpose was really to be on the ground in China, in Hong Kong, just as many of our competitors are also there on the ground, representing and promoting the BVI as a jurisdiction, as really as the jurisdiction of choice. We have a head start because it's long been established that in that region, BVI companies are used very often. But we want to be able to further cement that relationship and also to be able to widen the kind of services or kind of products that are used in that region. Hence, with the presence of the BVI House Asia, we're able to link and support the persons who promote the industry in BVI. That is the various companies who deal with clients in terms of corporate and other kind of structures.
So just a quick follow-up. Anything in terms of measurable changes, any differences that you've noticed or that you've heard about from the folks who are there on the ground at BVI House Asia?
It is a little early to speak about measurable changes, particularly in light of all the challenges that financial services have been having globally. But what is good is that we're able to maintain our contact and a relationship with our clients, and that is being maintained. And we expect, as we continue to our presence there and continue to promote our territory, that this will grow.
You made mention, sir, that you'll be going to Shenzhen to follow up on that memorandum of understanding. And you spoke about the need to increase friendship and also greater cooperation, sports and culture. What are you looking for where that is concerned?
The memorandum speaks to increase in culture, friendship, etc., and also speaks to increase in economic cooperation. And that's when they spoke about tourism and what the relationship can provide for us, given the reality that there are quite a number of investors in that region who has the potential and the ability to invest in the BVI. As you would have seen in the recent press, many of the leaders of the other countries in the Caribbean are also beaten apart to China.
Let's switch for a while now, Premier. Let's go to the House of Assembly. When the House of Assembly was last adjourned a few weeks ago, the situation was that there was no quorum, and also the leader of the opposition, with the support of other members, would have written to the Speaker saying that the adjournment of the House was not necessary because there was no quorum. What I'm asking you, sir, at the last sitting, when the House went back into sitting from recess, first of all, was there a quorum? And also, were you aware that there was no quorum when the House resumed because the Mays, first of all, re-entered the House? Were you aware that there was no quorum when the House came back into sitting?
We were aware after we got into the chamber that there was no quorum. It was brought to the attention of the Speaker. I think the person who brought it to the attention of the Speaker was Honorable Skelton. And the Speaker then followed what was protocol according to standing orders, and subsequently the House was adjourned.
But is it normal, sir, for the House to resume and determines after its resumption if there's a quorum, or that determination comes first before the House resumes?
No, once the House is called, a member would bring to attention that to the Speaker that that there's no quorum. In fact, when the House begins at 10, initially at 10 o'clock in the morning, the Speaker would normally wait until there's a quorum. But if there's a break, such as we had a short break, when the members go back into council and the House resumes, then if there's no quorum, then it is brought to attention to the Speaker. This is the protocol that's established. It has to be brought to attention to the Speaker. It was done, and then the Speaker has to make a decision.
But in a situation like that, sir, was it right to adjourn the House when there was no quorum, and if you think it was a constitutional flaw, so to speak?
Definitely not constitutional flaw, and was perfectly in order and following protocol established in the standing orders here in the BVI and protocol that is followed in other Commonwealth countries.
So you think it was right to adjourn the House and not continue the recess at that time? You think the decision taken to adjourn the House was the right one?
It was correct. The recess was for 20 minutes. What do you do after the 20 minutes is over? What we did was a correct procedure, and also adjourned quite properly, despite what others may say, who claim to know the standing orders.
Premier, another sort of House of Assembly question. Can you tell us when we can expect to see the 2007 elections report tabled in the House?
That is a good question. I will be able to answer you that and get back to you with that, right? Because I know that it was being reviewed, and as soon as that review is complete, it will be brought to the House. I cannot tell you at this moment at what sitting will be brought, but I promise as soon as it's complete and brought to the attention of the Cabinet, it will be tabled in the House.
Good morning, Johan Earl, Virgin Islands News Online. There was to be a sitting of the House of Assembly last week, and then there was a notice saying that the notice for that sitting was withdrawn, and now we see a new sitting scheduled for the 11th. Could you comment on what caused the withdrawal of the notice for the sitting? I believe it was should have been on the 2nd of September. and whether it had anything to do with the letter that was sent by leader of the opposition.
The notice for the sitting was sent out, to withdraw the sitting was sent out because the important bills which I wanted to be on the other paper were not ready, and hence the meeting was delayed. That is why the meeting will not be on the 11th of September.
So you are saying, sir, that the letter from the opposition had nothing to do with the change of date of the sitting?
The letter from the opposition, leader of the opposition, carried an opinion of what he thought. The change of date was essentially because the matters that needed to go on the other paper, government business, were not quite ready.
I want to ask about another update that you've been keeping us posted on periodically, which is the Prospect Reef development. I think the last news we had was that the company was completing a feasibility study. Have you heard back from them, or have you decided not to go forward with that company?
No, I think I have had no recent information. I know that there was some exchange of correspondence between my office and the company about a development agreement. I have not been in contact recently to determine exactly where that is.
Sir, the situation with the cruise ship here and the piles continue to create much talk despite the explanations given. What I'm trying to ask you, sir, as we attempt to get more information, the information was released in the House of Assembly from the Communication Works Minister some time ago that these piles, certain piles, were ordered for the cruise ship here, and we later heard from the contractor Meridian that they had ordered the piles for the cruise ship here. What we're trying to find out, who actually ordered the piles, these certain piles for the cruise ship here? Was it the government or Meridian? And if it was Meridian, what happened to the piles that government said it ordered prior?
What I would say to that, Zan, is that this matter has been discussed so often, so many times, and so long. The minister gave quite a detailed explanation, and I don't think there's anything else to say on the matter.
Despite the concerns from people, you don't think there's anything else to say? Because I think attempts were made earlier from one media organization, and nothing happened. So as Premier, I don't know if you want to spread some light and put it to an end.
There's no further light to be shed. Full disclosure was made in the House of Assembly. Full statement was made by the minister and supported by documents. So there's no further need to say anything else.
What's the position with the Attorney General, sir? We are hearing that he's going to leave office when his contract ends. Has he asked for renewal? What is the position on this? We have been hearing that there have been problems in the Attorney General's office, which may be forcing him out. What can you tell us, sir?
What I can tell you is that that function is a function of the governor, according to the constitution of the BVI, and he will do what is necessary. And it has nothing to do with the cabinet of the BVI. It's merely a function of the governor.
But has he indicated to you that at the end of this contract he'll be leaving?
I, again, would like to refer you to the governor for him to make whatever statement he wishes to make on the matter.
There you go. I understand that the 2013 festival report was completed some time ago. Can you tell us what the holdup is for getting that laid on the table and published?
It will, of course, be laid on the table. I have not seen it as yet, but it will be laid on the table once it's received by the cabinet.
So what the latest you can tell us as regards when the BVI was blacklisted by France a few months ago? I can remember some time ago you made mention of discussions are taking place and will happen soon. What you can tell us on that now?
What I can say is that we have made all the necessary changes in order to be able to respond adequately to the French. The French are satisfied with our responses, and they will be reviewing our standing. But I cannot tell you that it has been done as yet. But as soon as it's done, we will let everybody know. Yeah.
So at this time, do you know when we can expect good word?
I believe that we can expect good word based on the performance, but I cannot say when precisely that will happen.
I also want to ask if you have any update for us about the Queen Elizabeth II Park. Some time ago you had spoken to residents about the renovation and all. I know there was one contract awarded. Has any work taken place out there?
The work is ongoing in the Queen Elizabeth II Park. There was a little bit of a hiatus, stoppage, because of the festival activities, but work will be beginning again very soon.
Sir, as regards the Commission of Inquiry, a lot has been said or have been said on this issue. The opposition would have brought a motion before the House. Everyone would have debated it. They are claiming that there are red flags still over the project. They are claiming that they need the true cost of the project. The governor said there are some serious allegations in the public accounts report, and he will be making a decision before the end of the year. After all of this, sir, and after listening to what the opposition claimed or red flags, and the auditor's report and the witnesses' statements, do you see it fit, sir, as the need for a commission of inquiry at this time? Do you think there's need for one?
We have maintained all along there's no need for inquiry because there's nothing done was wrong. We have made a necessary statement. We've debated the matter in the House of Assembly for everybody to hear. And the records of that debate is available for everybody to review. The governor, of course, has records and he will make up his mind about what he needs to do.
So you're saying, sir, after all of this debate from both sides, nothing was said to convince you that there's need for a commission of inquiry?
No.
Sir, the police seem to be frustrated, judging from what was said by the Commissioner of Police recently, as regards work they need to do, and the city police need to be comfortable in order to carry out their duties effectively. The city Western Police Station is breaking down. Work needs to be done there. The Eastern Police Station has problem, no funding. The Rotong Police Station, no funding. What's the problem?
We understand that there are some issues with some of the police stations. I myself have visited the Western Police Station. I've asked the Public Works Department to secure the necessary figures for its repair and to do the necessary BQs for an advertisement. Once that is complete, the matter will be taken up and the repairs will be done.
But why is there no funding for the police, sir, in light of the efforts, in light of what would have said by you and other persons that giving the police necessary resources and making sure that they're happy to carry out their duties? They're also claiming that there's no money. There are 24 vacancies. They have 10 persons already recruited, but they have no money to pay salaries. They were not given any money in 2014 to pay salaries. Why no monies are being... That's what the police commissioner said.
That's not the statement they should make, that there's no money to pay salaries. We are paying the salaries of all the police officers who are there at the moment. Right? At the beginning of the year, the budget is apportioned to all the various ministries and to the governor's group as well. It is within the ministries to be able to allocate the monies to the things that are necessary. And sometimes, even within a ministry, you can move money from one thing to the next. Depends on resources that is there and what the priorities are.
No, what I'm saying, sir, he didn't say that there is no money to pay salaries. What he says that there are 24 vacancies. 10 10 police persons would have already been recruited to fill these vacancies, but they cannot be taken on because no money had been given by government to them in 2014 to pay these 10 policemen. So they're saying they cannot be recruited because there's no money to pay their salaries.
When the budget is prepared, what is taken into account is the salaries of people who are on the payroll and those who are expected to be on the payroll very shortly. We would not put monies in the payroll for somebody who will be recruited 1 year down the road. 1 year down the road, monies will be provided for those individuals. However, where it is necessary, monies will always be provided for additional staff, whether it's police or in any other ministry of the government.
Prima, let me ask you this last question. Also this week, the government was severely criticized as being reckless, so to speak, by the regional general manager of Delta Petroleum, claiming that government has refused to pay them the money that was placed in a consent order from the High Court, and they claim it has been reckless, some $700,000, and they're claiming that government needs to pay them the money. As Finance Minister, how would you respond to such statements?
There's a process which is we are following, and the monies will be paid. So there's no real issue. It's a matter of time, and I think that the general manager understands that.
What is this process, sir?
Well, the accounts have to be put in place, money has to be transferred from one account to the next, and this has to be done in proper legal way, and so this takes some time. But there's no question that the monies will be paid.
Finally, so when this money could be forthcoming, if you want to put a time to it?
Shortly. I'd just like to say one last thing, that I understand that there was a criticism that this government has done very little in financial services. I'd like to say that the criticism obviously came from people who were not au fait with what's going on in the financial services sector. Right? I'd like to also just point out just a few of the things which we are doing in the financial services sector to make sure that the sector continues to contribute to the British Virgin Islands. For example, we introduced financial services into the schools, into high schools, training, so that the people of the BVI could become involved in the sector more than they have been in the past, having been prepared by the educational experience. We also opened the office, as I mentioned earlier, in Hong Kong, so we'll be able to solve the industry there in real time and help to create further growth. We also created an international tax authority. This was created in 2012 because it was recognized that we needed to have a special unit to deal with requests from the tax information exchange authorities. These and so many other measures that we were put in place, including looking at the whole industry to see how it's functioning and where the direction we should be going. In fact, we recently hired a firm by the name of McKinsey. McKinsey is an international firm who has done similar work in other jurisdictions. And they've been here with us so far, and we expect them to look at us from a holistic point of view and give a roadmap forward. So there are many things that have been happening in the financial service industry, and persons who are not informed should not be making statements that are not correct. Thank you very much.